May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio mini podcast, a brief memory, or brief memories. I should say brief memories. It's always memories. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today's brief memories come from Dennis White. From December 2007 to January 2008, email correspondence. So, Dennis says the two really life-changing meetings for me are as follows. The background is that I was a vegetarian a number of years and very rigid and quite obnoxious when it came to issues surrounding eating meat. I never remembered Dennis being obnoxious. He was a quiet, unassuming, polite person. So, Dennis, that's my take on it. I mean, there were a lot of us who were fanatics about food. I was not an angry, rigid fanatic. There was that. But anyway, that's how he felt. And obviously, he freed himself from those chains. Although I think it's good not to eat meat, but it's not good to be rigid and obnoxious for years. So, anyway, back to Dennis. So, during a session, Loring Palmer, who was the head cook, put fish stock in the soup. Well, that's a no-no, Loring. We specifically forbid that. But Loring is like Bill Kwong when he came to Tosser. I'd been running the kitchen on Saturdays for the Saturday extended schedule at Sokoji. And he always used fish stock because Mrs. Suzuki, Oksan, always used fish stock. And when he came, he brought some. But he was coming for a limited time right before the first practice period. And for their first practice period, and Silas told him, no meat or fish here. So back to what Dennis says. So during a session, Loring Palmer, who was the head cook, Loring was involved very involved in the cooking and the kitchen at Sokoji too. Like he'd help out, and he had very strong ideas about food. But Loring was the same. So Loring was head cook, and he put fish stock in the soup, and I got into it with him. I can remember him saying, "I'll throw your ass out of here." The kitchen, that is. And me, "Yeah, you and what army?" This does not sound like either one of them to me. They're both very peaceful, calm people. Reb happened to be around, so somehow I was lassoed and taken up for an interview with Roshi right away, as it was a session and all. Oh, I went in and bowed, sat down in zazen with Roshi, and I blurted out, "Roshi, Loring put fish stock in the soup, and we don't usually do that here. And I haven't eaten meat or fish for 6 years, blah, blah, blah." And Roshi sat there just listening with no sense of judgment or reaction, and at a certain point, my batteries just ran down, as there didn't seem to be any sense of resistance or support for my rant. And I shut up, and we just sat for what seemed like a long time, but it probably wasn't. Then all of a sudden, Roshi spoke, and it felt like thunder rolling through my head, although I'm almost sure he didn't raise his voice at all. And he said, "Let me tell you something. You're ideals are the death of reality. Then he said, you can be 99% perfect in this world if you like, or even 90%. But don't ever try to be 100% perfect, because you just push the world away from you and have no relation to it. From there, I talked a bit more, and one thing I remember is him saying something about that he didn't really prefer to eat meat, but when he visited friends who served it, it was easier to go along with it. Well, and his wife served it to him, but just little bits, you know. This thing about in America about eating big hunks of meat is not the general case in Asia until they got into it. Until they were introduced to that, and it represented affluence and, you know, being part of the modern world. But still, that's only with a small minority of people. All right. So in any case, I didn't run out to get a cheeseburger that night, but things percolated. And 2 weeks or so later, I was on my way to Tassajara for 2 training sessions, and I was walking in from Carmel, which we Zen pseudo-ronins often did, and I stopped at a restaurant at the last outpost and ordered my usual plate of mashed yeast and scrambled sprouts, or whatever it was. At a certain point, the guy next to me tapped me on the shoulder and said, I just ordered this steak and haven't touched it, but I'm not hungry. Do you want it? Somehow, I heard Roshi in that moment, and I said, yes, took it and ate it, and felt like a big bag I had been carrying was suddenly off my back. And although I was at Tassajara for a while, somehow I never had to carry that particular heavy aspect of being a certain way again and insisting that others should also be that way. Hey, I want to say something about him. Roshi said to him, you know, you can be 99% perfect or even 90, but don't ever try to be 100% perfect, because you just push the world away from you and you have no relation to it. Dogen said something, you know, Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen, which is the Zen school that Suzuki was in. Dogen said something about, or he wrote something about, just try to be 80%. You know, 80% is good. Isn't that cool? I mean, I don't think it's good to over analyze or interpret that or take it too mathematically. But it's interesting, huh? Because I've been around so much of people trying to be perfect or trying to do whatever practice they're doing perfectly. It's, you know, I think most Japanese I was around, they know better than that. They look like they're very serious and charging into it, gambate, you know, full of energy and vigor and doing it all. But I think that 80% is, you know, in their minds is maybe what they're aiming for, maybe looking like they're doing more. Appearances are very big there because, you know, everybody's looking at everybody else, and there's more social pressure there, a lot more than, in fact, there's more social pressure on them than we have had in general. So it's very hard to comprehend it. I've had many Japanese tell me that. Anyway, 80%, all right, you can try to be 90%. Don't try to be 100. My other Roshi story, Dennis says, was the last time I spoke with him. I came in from work to Page Street one day and went upstairs to my room and ran into Roshi in the hallway. I hadn't seen him for a while. It was probably about 2 months before he died. So I said, Roshi, I haven't seen you for a while. How are you? He said, oh, not very well, but I don't worry about it. Somehow to me that was very powerful, as I've always had a touch of hypochondriacness. And here was Roshi dying of cancer, saying that in his direct, 200% present and complete way. So then I had a little something. I contacted Dennis about the early Tassajara alumni reunion in December 2007. I asked if he knew about it and if it was true, as I'd heard, that his wife Bonnie from back in those days had died. And he wrote, David, I hadn't been contacted, but Ken Campbell told me about it, so I knew. Thanks for your email. Yes, Bonnie died about 15 years ago of cancer, just before her 50th birthday. We had been divorced for quite a while, but stayed close because of our two children, now 35 and 32. Our daughter has an 11-year-old son, and our 32-year-old son is marrying Kanjuro Shibata Sensei's granddaughter in the spring. He's the imperial bowmaster of Japan, who has taught in Trungpa Rinpoche's Sangha for many years. I have 5 other children, 46, 44, 23, 18, 8. Wow, Dennis. And a new granddaughter at this point. Work as a case manager at a homeless shelter and teach at Naropa University half-time. I was hoping to come to the reunion. Not sure I can because of other obligations. But please keep me on the list next time, maybe. So thank you very much, Dennis. That was cool. I really enjoyed reading that. And I hope you're doing well now. This has been a Cuke Audio mini podcast, a brief memory. I'm DC Puba of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doggett Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.